Safe Harbor Foundation presents stories of hopelessness and hope, stories of addiction and courage. These are the true stories of real people fighting their battles, reclaiming their lives.
Welcome back. This episode is going to be a bit different from previous ones. Instead of focusing on one person's story, we are going to get together and have a conversation with Toby, Terry, and Warren. Toby and Terry already shared their compelling stories with us. This time, they will tell us a little bit more about their life as caregivers and how they manage their personal lives while helping others.
Hey, my name is Ali, and I'm here with the crew, the team behind SafeHaven, Warren, Terry, Toby.
Holly.
My first question to you guys is, why SafeHaven? Warren?
Well, as I've said before, why not? If you're going to make changes, you need society to be changed. You need to start at the grassroots. You can't expect it to happen from up above. People expect the government to take care of them. The government doesn't do a very good job at taking care of people. It helps, but people have to be able to take care of themselves, and they have to have a place to do that. People coming out of recovery, detox centers and rehab centers, they need a safe place to work those muscles, as we like to say, those recovery muscles, to develop skills and living skills to be able to stand on their own feet. The problem has been in the past, people would go into the recovery centers, which very important aspect. They'd come out of recovery and then they'd go right back into the same environment where they came from to begin with. And this perpetuated a cycle over and over again. And it was very frustrating for me when I came into this in 2017. I said, there's got to be another way. And I started to read about sober living. And I said, Charleston needs more good recovery sober homes. The problem is that there's a whole spectrum of different types of recovery homes. Some of them are very almost militaristic. You go and you wake up at revelry, you make your bed, you're bam, 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 bam. Then on the other side of the spectrum, there are places where the people living in sober living are kind of up to whatever they want to do, and the house votes them in and out, and it's not much accountability. So when SafeHaven came into being, I chose something middle of the road, something that would provide accountability, but also kind of encourage people to help foster these skills that they need so that they can eventually stand on their own feet. You don't expect a baby who's learning how to walk to get up and start walking away. They've got to exercise those muscles and get that balance again. And that's what recovery is all about, is finding that balance in your life.
Mm-hmm. From the perspective of a former addict, why SafeHaven?
Well, when you're in addiction, you lose the ability to function in a reasonable, as a person in society. You forget how to do that. You don't pay your bills. You most likely don't have a roof over your head. If you do, it's not a solid place to live. And you have to get somewhere where you can relearn those skills, reteach yourself those skills. And SafeHaven's vital to that, because when you come in, you're expected to pay your rent, you're expected to provide your own food, you're expected to provide your own transport, whether it be on the bus, because we're on the bus lines, or whether it be to get your license back. But you have to do these little things in order to be able to do the big things. And it's a transition. It's step by step. Here at SafeHaven, our slogan is firm grounds for my steps. And that's exactly what it is. You're building a foundation you can stand on. You can't stand without a foundation. And then you can go from that into transitional living. And then that's a more, less accountability by others. But you have to hold yourself accountable. But at SafeHaven, you're learning to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, we'll talk about transitional.
Yeah.
How about why SafeHaven?
Well, SafeHaven for me was far enough away from my home and close enough to my home that I wasn't around the same people, places, and things. and it was imperative. They made me go to work when I came here, and that got me back moving in the right direction. It gave me a purpose. It gave me something to do when I got up, and I would get into a routine, and my habits started changing from the bad to the good habits.
I want to go back to Safe Haven and some really success stories.
Oh my goodness! I'm happy to say we actually are. We've got quite a few people that we can really stand up and say how proud we are of them. I mean, from just people that have completed our 6-month portions of programs, which we have quite a few now, to people that have been for years successful. And when I say successful, I mean they're not using drugs, they're working, they're taking care of themselves, they have families back, they've regained custody of their children. I mean, the list goes on and on. Some of the people that come to mind, one of our problem children at the time was Brooke. Mm-hmm. I'll use that first name and first name only. Brooke took a good 2 or 3 years in our program. Three, yeah. She went through. I remember Toby. We had to take Brooke and drag her after she had left our program and then ended up relapsing, taking her and sticking her into recovery to rehab again. And we wouldn't let her leave our side. We had her in the car for the whole till we found a place for her. Then we let her come back, and the third time was a charm. And as a result, Brooke blossomed. She went from and I like to say this, her Eeyore face to what and ironically, here's the funny thing, Ali. My mother-in-law was sick in the hospital. My wife was there with her. This was last summer. And who would the nurse, the CNA would be Brooke. And unbeknownst to me, she began, and then she just talked about Safe Haven and how grateful she was to Safe Haven because my wife recognized her, and she said she doesn't look like the same person. Mm-mm. And I said, no, she's not. She's a much wiser person, and the troubles that she had encountered have only made her stronger. You can tell that her inner core, she's a much stronger person. And I think a much happier person. Mm-hmm. She's much more at peace.
Mm-hmm. Can you remember any other success stories?
Absolutely. There are situations where we have had to remove people from our program, and that's always a hard situation. But more often than not, the people that we have to remove will reach back out to us at a later date and say, look, I messed up. I'm in this place in my recovery now. May I return? And they return, and they make it wonderfully. I mean, they really succeed. I have seen a young lady that I knew, I've known her since she was a teenager, come into Safe Haven a couple years ago, and she got the first job she had ever had in her life. The first day at work, she worked a double, cleaning at the Civic Center. And then she got a better job. She's still at that good job. She has her own place. Her children are back in her life. Her family's back. Just to see the growth in that young lady, and to know her and know where she come from, and know the struggles that she had, and just to see the growth, it just fills me with nothing but pure joy. Because I say, with recovery, the further you get into your recovery, the more inner peace you find. And once you start finding that inner peace, you start finding that inner happiness. And once
crave it, don't you?
You do. And once you find that inner peace and that inner happiness, nothing can stop you. There's nothing that can stop you.
Well, was that the case for you? Would you consider yourself as a success story, Toby?
I would now. I had several rough starts. I failed miserably several times before I succeeded. But right now, I absolutely would consider myself a work in progress. But I would have never dreamed I would have been this successful at my life, just with my family and friends.
We did 2 podcasts, one with Toby and one with Terry. And to be able to tell your stories, how important is that to you personally?
Very. Very, because you never know who your story's going to reach. You never know who it's going to touch, and somebody that can relate to your story, say, hey, I've been in that situation. Similar things have happened to me. And just being able to reach out, to others. That's what it's all about, reaching out to others in addiction or in early recovery that are struggling and don't know what to do. We can point you in the right direction. We can't walk with you and hold your hand.
We cannot do it for you.
But we can definitely point you, and we can't do it for you, but we can point you in that direction. And it's up to you. It's a choice. It's a personal choice. You choose whether to recover or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's a good point, Terry. The thing is that people think, well, our criminal courts are set up, and now they've got drug court, and they think that, well, as an alternative sentence, we're going to send you into rehab and sober living. The problem is that doesn't work very well, and the reason is of course they're going to want to take that alternative as opposed to being in jail. I would, but their hearts, a lot of people's hearts really aren't in it. It's not. Maybe it was enough of a shocker to get them and get their mind to understand how important it is that they change their life.
Seeds. It plants seeds is all.
Yeah, but the problem is unless their heart, soul, and mind are ready to make those changes in their life, they won't succeed. And so we saw that early on in SafeHaven with a lot of people coming out of the prison systems that the state would send. We didn't have near as much success as we have in later times because people were coming for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. I'd rather be at SafeHaven than be in jail. Mm-hmm. That was the idea.
Mm-hmm. Or just as a home plan.
Yeah, as a home plan. And believe it or not, we actually, and I know the state wouldn't do this intentionally, but we actually had the state and some of the people send us people that weren't even addicts at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ironically, the state would have them make up things, not the state, excuse me, but someone at the state who was helping them fill out their application would have them put things on there just so that they could get them out of the jail, so the state wouldn't have to pay for their housing. At least that's how it came across.
And the way we're set up, we're not set up to help people that aren't addicts.
Mm-hmm.
We have had instances where people who are not addicts will come into the house, and it throws the whole houses off balance, because they're not willing to. They don't have to go to meetings. Mm-hmm. They're not an addict. They're not willing to do the things that we expect the people in recovery to do. Mm-hmm. And these are things that are necessary. You have to.
Our program's tailored.
Yes, it is tailored to addicts and
to
alcoholics.
People who have addiction recovery issues.
Mm-hmm. The kind of life that you guys lead is emotionally charged, really. How do you cope with that? And every day you have cases, you have sad stories, you have this. How do you cope with it?
Friends. We talk to each other. We go camping on the weekends. We do fun things together. It's important for us to show up for each other and for us to show up for our residents like people have done for us.
We have been dealing with an issue here of lately that's been very troubling to us. And we have to step back and realize that we have done everything we can. When the ball falls, it's in your court. What you do with that ball, it's up to you. You can either bounce it or throw it out of bounds. And if you throw it out of bounds, it's you. But it does affect us personally because we get involved, or we get personally involved. We have the capacity to hold 33 residents. We get very attached to these residents because some of our residents have been here for 2 years or more. You get invested in these people, and when they do have slip ups and stuff, it does affect you.
But we know what doesn't work, and what doesn't work is just coddling them and making it okay.
Right.
You just can't.
You can't pat them on the back and say it's okay. You have to tell them that now this is the time you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
And from the perspective of former addict yourself,
absolutely.
Do you find it do you find pleasure in doing this? What kind of gratification do you get out of it?
In the job itself?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh. If the residents could just see themselves through my eyes.
Yeah.
To see the growth and just to see they say in recovery there's a light that comes on and we see that light coming on in their eyes and in their lives and see people's lives changing. It's like this one person, he said, I got to see my kids for the first time in 2 years. That's what it's all about. That's exactly what it's all about. And people that have lost their children temporarily through foster care, getting their children back in their homes, and it's amazing.
A lot of people have burned every bridge that they have and then some, especially with their family members. And often, not all the time, but often, there'll be a rebuilding of relationships with their family. And when they do, their family actually is willing to have them come for a visit, or they'll come and visit them, or they'll go for a Thanksgiving. I remember one resident who I'd call a success story. He's one of our earlier graduates. He was so touched when his ex-wife and his kids wanted him to come for Thanksgiving dinner. And I'll never forget the look of just sheer joy, and how, there were tears in his eyes, how happy and touched his daughters actually spent, and he was just, it just broke my heart. I was so happy. I was very happy for him. And subsequently, it built on that. It got more and more, where he was visiting with his family more and more, and until he'd really start to establish his relations again. So I don't say that's a guarantee for everyone coming through, but it does happen, and it is very fulfilling to see that, and I get a lot of fulfillment out of that too.
Well, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have more of this kind of like a reflection back on our experiences, and the things that we do. And meanwhile, thank you so much. Any final thoughts?
Thank you, Ali, for doing this and getting the word out.
By all means,
Absolutely.
I think SafeHaven and programs like it are essential to our community if we're going to have any chance at healing our society from the scourge of drugs and alcohol abuse.
This has been a Safe Harbor Foundation podcast. This episode and others are available at SafeHavenSoberHomes.com. If you know of someone who needs help with addiction, please call us at 304-853-3869 or visit us at SafeHavenSoberHomes.com. Be well, people. We do recover.